Hey there, gang. Patrick King here, coming to you live from somewhere off the highway in Ohio. I'm heading from Pittsburgh to a rest-over place in Ohio. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, I hit the sky, flying to Linden, North Dakota for our week-long Dakota experience, so that's going to be a blast. Today's question comes to us from Elizabeth. And Elizabeth asks, how can you go about fixing a horse who was abused by harsh bits? Prior to me owning my mare, a trainer busted her mouth open with a twisted wire snaffle. Now she tenses up in response to contact, even in just a regular smooth snaffle. I've been trying to gently reintroduce her to the snaffle bit, but I'm not sure if I'm doing the right things. Sometimes it seems like I'm making progress, and then suddenly she goes back to square one. Now, Elizabeth, this is unfortunately something that we see all too common. Horses that have either been banged on with bits that were too harsh, or like in the case of your mare, really severely been abused and had their mouths busted. And then there's sometimes when accidents just happen, maybe a horse steps on a rein and their mouth gets injured. That's unfortunately something that we see not frequently, thankfully, but we do see it, okay? So the horses, as a response, will tense in the jaw. They'll hold tension in their jaw. And horses generally hold a lot of their tension in their jaw anyway. Just like you and I might hold our tension in our neck or our lower back or something like that. One of the primary places that we see horses hold tension is in their jaw. This makes correct bit fit and adjustment so much more important to us because, again, that's where they hold so much of their attention, and that's where we're doing the primary brunt of our communication with the horse if we have to take up on the reins. So, in helping your mare to get over this, and helping any horse to get over this and begin to kind of rehabilitate their mouth, one of the first things that I'll do is I'll put my thumb inside their mouth and I'll kind of gently massage the bars of their mouth. Now, with a lot of horses that have kind of been banged on a bit, or a horse that just generally carries more tension in their jaw, in their mouth, when you put your thumb in and kind of massage the bars of their mouth, they might hide the tongue up behind the molars, up in the back of their mouth. You can see this in some horses when a rider's riding and the horse opens the mouth. A lot of times the tongue is pulled back up above or behind the bit. So what I would do when the horse is when I'm massaging the bars of the mouth, and it's a very, very gentle touch, okay? If we were going to go on a pressure scale from 0 to 10, we'd be at 0 right there. We're just making a light contact. Again, the horse is apt to draw the tongue up into the back of the mouth or up into the throat, and I'm just going to touch or very lightly rub my thumb up and down on that bar, both sides. If necessary, one side at a time. If the horse is quiet and safe enough, I like to do both sides at the same time. And we'll do this until the tongue relaxes, all right? Again, as we said, a lot of horses will pull the tongue up into the back of the mouth. Some horses will shove the tongue out the mouth to one side or the other, kind of showing us that there's more tension to one side or another. Sometimes they can't handle it much at all and they get to tossing their head quite a bit. These are the horses that I would defer to just one side at a time rather than both together, all right? But I'm going to do that until they soften the tongue while my thumb is in there kind of gently massaging. There's some techniques, I've seen some people that'll pull a horse's tongue out the side of the mouth or out the front of the mouth. Don't do that, okay? That's my non-veterinary advice, right? Don't do that. Generally, the dental state of a lot of horses that I see, pulling the tongue out to the side like that, you're just exposing the insides of the tongue to lacerations and abrasions based on potentially rough teeth. And then you've got a whole nother problem, right? So anyway, to start with the rehab of the jaw, that's where I would go. Just gently massaging until the horse can soften their mouth and lay their tongue soft and quiet. This might be something that you have to do every day for the next, I don't know, 50 years of that horse's life, okay? Because you're working back, rehabilitating basically the stress and the memory and the, call it PTSD if you want to, of the abuse that had happened. So that would be part of my religion with that horse. Every time I would groom that horse, I would be working the sides of the bars of the mouth there to help them relax. Of course, be careful, don't get your fingers crushed, right? That seems like something that should go without saying, but I want to just put out that little warning. Now, once I've got the horse relaxed with that idea, then when we do put the bit back in the horse's mouth, I'm simply going to lift one corner of the bit, so one bit ring or the other if we're talking about riding in a snaffle. If we're riding in a curb, it would just be the bar of the bit. I'll slightly lift up into the corners of the mouth. Again, one side at a time. In this case, it's not going to be both at once. One side at a time, and I'm simply going to wait there, all right? If you ask how much pressure, I don't know, about the amount of pressure it takes for me to lift up my sunglasses here, right? So next to nothing. I'm gonna lift that up, and I'm gonna wait. And I'm gonna wait. And I'm gonna wait. And I'm gonna wait until the horse softly mouths the bit, all right? With some horses, they're carrying a lot of tension or have learned to avoid, they might just sit there on that bit. You might be looking at 5 minutes, 10 minutes of waiting until the horse softly begins to work their mouth. Sit there with that bit ring, or with the mouthpiece of the bit in the corner of their mouth until they work their mouth softly. It's really important. Don't get impatient with this, all right? In their mind, they'll be kind of working through that stress, and you might see them going through some different changes. Some horses will get very kind of drowsy-eyed looking. That's almost a going internal and hiding in their mind from that pressure that they feel. Some horses will begin to wiggle their lips. I've seen some horses pop the lower lip. Just wait. Some horses might get to really kind of gnashing at the bit. Just wait. Some of them will grind their teeth or maybe take the head up and down into different positions. Just wait. All right, we're waiting until they softly and quietly mouth the bit, just like we did when we were rubbing the bars of the mouth, okay? So the most important piece of advice for that is, you guessed it, just wait, okay? This is a situation where so many people get frustrated, or they get, I don't know, maybe bored, right? They feel like they're not having an impact. This is a situation when we're trying to rehab from this stressful situation that the horse has encountered. All we can do is wait, right? We wait for the horse to make it through. We cannot force relaxation. We cannot rush it. We cannot impose it. We have to wait for the horse to release the tension themselves, and then relaxation starts to come into place. That's really important to understand, all right? Now, once we've got that working for us, and again, that piece too with the bit, I would make that part of my religion. Every time I put the bit in the horse's mouth, I'd be asking exactly that way before I ever climbed on. I might do some in-hand work or some ground work with the bit in their mouth, and go back to that, asking them to soften, of course, both sides, right? Asking them to gently soften and emotionally or mentally, physically release to the contact of that bit. Once we've got that taken care of, then when we're riding, I'm going to do essentially the same thing. I'm going to lift up on a rein so that it's lifting that bit up into the corner of their mouth. Sorry, I've got bugs chasing after me here. I'm going to lift that bit up into the corner of their mouth, one rein at a time, and you guessed it, wait until the horse softly releases the jaw, leading up to relaxation in the mouth, and that's going to transfer through to the rest of the body. This might be something that we have to refer to quite a bit, especially if the horse is really carrying that tension forward, or carrying that stress from whatever the past past life experience, we call it, right? Whatever the past life experience was that's causing them to brace or be bothered by the bit. And again, when we're riding and we lift that up, they may get anxious, they may grind their teeth, they may gnash at the bit. We simply wait, okay? You're guessing the theme here by now, I'm sure. There's a lot of waiting in helping to rehabilitate the horse's mouth, because it's such a mental and physical thing with the horse, and you can't rush that. You cannot outmuscle an emotion. You simply have to wait for that. All right? I hope that this has been helpful to you, Elizabeth, and to anyone else who has this challenge. Again, this is a challenge that I see quite often as I travel around the country helping folks with their horses. We work with this with many horses at every clinic. So this is something to definitely take our time and work very slowly with, and just wait. All right? I hope that this is helpful. If you found this helpful, please feel free to share this video. If you have some friends or know of anyone that might need to hear this advice, or that maybe they're struggling with their horse as well, please tag their name in the comment section below this video so that they can get a chance to hear this, this earth-shattering just wait advice, right? Thank you so much, gang. Question of the day. I didn't even think of one beforehand. Question of the day. Let's see. I don't know. We're talking about the horse that's been abused by twisted wire snaffles, and pretty much to me that's about the only thing those bits do, is abuse just by design. But curious, what bit are you wearing on your horse? Or are you bitless? If you're bitless, what type of equipment are you using? Otherwise, what type of bit are you currently using on your horse? Don't forget, gang, you keep asking questions, I'll keep talking about horses. Thanks for joining in.